Okay, before everyone goes off the rails, let me just say, listen. First, I've recently replayed through the entire story of Janthir Wilds on my Elementalist from start to finish. Honestly, the expansion really didn't deserve the hate that I think that it got. I'm going to be talking about everything here from the story's atmosphere, to the meta events, to the open world, and more. So buckle up, Buttercup. If you are new to the channel, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Guild Wars 2 content. Okay, so as a note, spoilers will be discussed throughout. So the story of Janthir Wilds, I personally feel like, of course, that was its weakest point. But even at that, it wasn't really ever bad. Honestly, the story felt akin to that of the track record of Game of Thrones. Really great opening season and then completely petered off by the end. Starting out with the explosive entrance of Greer, literally we were just venturing out and then boom, this massive stranger comes through the fog as the Blightbringer. Like, the entrance could not have been any better. It was really well done. Then you get to the Sentry and then you beat him back only to find out that there's more. There's Decima, who honestly just looks like a giant crab. Just a giant crab. The integration of not only the Wizard's Tower as well as the rift hunting from last expansion to the introduction of the Lowland Coden really made it feel kind of like it was natural. It never really felt forced as this expansion continued on. Their homes, their journeykins, the spear usage, all of these were an absolute smash hit in my mind. I really think that they hit the nail on the head. Now, some of the interactions specifically, like how everyone treated Poised Arrow or Pokey, felt like a little silly, and good gracious, listen to Stoic Alder talk for 5 minutes to get 2 words out. I understand he's a bear, but like he can speed it up a little. But throughout the entirety of almost every Guild Wars 2 expansion, there's been like these little lull and silly moments that happen. And honestly, the commander is always just like this basic force to be reckoned with. I mean, I very much attribute it to like the Warrior of Light from Final Fantasy XIV. Basically, your unstoppable force of good. Now again, the opening was fantastic, and then we got to the Mistborn Baron. And this tight story really opens up more of what happened to the creation of the strangers, and we start to see the connection to Mabon. Now, since Mabon's death, everyone had been really sad, but now this was offering a heck of a lot more to build his background of who he was, and gives him a lot more depth from the point of view from Secrets of the Obscure. This only moves the story faster, as it felt like the first half of the story was pretty evenly paced. It felt like it was set up very well. And then we got into the second half, when starting with the Mistborn Barons, and everything just felt rushed. It felt as if there was only a little bit of story to tell, and from that, they rushed it. Not to mention that getting into Bava Nisos, where you basically finished up your last story patch in about an hour, like it didn't really take all that long to do that content. I mean, it was cool that we found this Titan that was forged into the city or melded in with the city, and you know, like it was living and breathing and all that. That was interesting, but I felt like it was a little bit thrown together. Now, it doesn't mean that it was bad, it just means that it was lacking the depth of the previous first half of the story. And then, of course, we find out that we gotta fight 3 giant strangers who, throughout the entirety of the story, just ended up being the 3 cursed white mantle who were twisted in the realm of torment. The final battle of this expansion is literally us fighting 3 of them one at a time, and not even in their Titan form, in their human shadow form. And like, that's it? I don't know, I was hoping for like an effigy of the Titan, sort of like how we fought Mordremoth in his mind, but this felt too simple. I mean, yay, we did wrap up the story, and the Ghost of Mabon seals the gate, preventing the strangers from ever entering the world, but it all just felt weak. The ending felt weak. Again, Game of Thrones. First few seasons were bangers, but at the end, it kind of felt anticlimactic. Moving on to the open world of Janthir Wilds was absolutely crisp, and one of the reasons I love the expansion. Arriving at the lowland shore where all these bears are, it felt almost unforgiving. Like, even with the right build and gear, you can still get slapped around if you're not careful, and it felt dangerous. There was that threat. Between the meta events that popped up, like the Of Mist and Monsters, or the Ball Queen, or even Voyage, everything was done in such a great way. I really liked all the different maps that were here. Personally, as an aging WoW veteran, this whole series of zones felt almost like Grizzly Hills, which was one of my favorite zones in World of Warcraft ever. Especially Lowland Shore gave us this vibe, absolutely. The use of the Warclaw throughout the expansion, in my mind, was incredibly well done and even better than what they did for the Skyscale and the Secrets of the Obscure. Between chaining enemies down, sniffing treasure, or honestly even just their ability to damn near fly, it doesn't make sense, but they can vault off of thin air. It doesn't make sense, but they can. Given that even the later maps of Mistburn Barrens and Bavanisos had their uses, although to be fair, I tended to use the Skyscale a little bit more when I'm running around in those two zones. I do find myself actually using the Warclaw even more so outside of the Janthir Wilds expansion, just because I like its speed and how it can definitely maneuver back and forth. The scenery of this expansion was absolutely fantastic, and it is honestly very well done. Again, comparatively of that of Secrets of the Obscure, where I know that it was meant to be otherworldly and such, Janthir Wilds felt more believable. It felt like we were supposed to be a part of Tyria with this, not just the universe hopping, which again, I know that we can do through the mists, and that was kind of the directions of the Secrets of the Obscure. They were trying to do something that was drastically different. All in all, the open world always has something to do, and it's a damn good time, and it's one of the best selling features of this expansion. I do want to make a small note of one of my favorite things about this expansion is the Convergence, this large-scale mass group instance where we take on one of the strangers from the story, and I love doing this Convergence because it doesn't feel like it takes a lot of effort, but too, it's really great to see this massive amount of players working together towards a goal, and it does provide a whole bunch of like loot and experience and a whole bunch of other great things. And then on top of that, it isn't a pushover fight. Like a lot, you can be downed very quickly and die. Now, granted, I do know that Secrets of the Obscure has a Convergence as well. This one, in my opinion, is fun and honestly more alive. And of course, I do know that they have Raid Wing 8. I actually haven't done the Raid Wing yet, but I just like hopping into the Convergence when it's public, is just because I usually don't have that much time to dedicate to raiding. Okay, so the major draw for me for this expansion, I think it's something that they nailed perfectly, was the use of the spear. Holy crap, the spear usage basically on every class is so much fun. Personally, I've been trying to find out ways to make a spear elementalist work PvP in World v World. Not to much avail, but it's still fun figuring out all the ins and outs of the gameplay. Spear, of course, have been around for a very long time in the game anyway, and now that we're able to use them on land, it's just so damn fun. Personally, this resonated with me because each and every time I play, especially MMOs, I look for spear usage. I love the Dragoon in Final Fantasy XIV. I love the Warden in Lord of the Rings Online. This is just like perfect for what I'm trying to play as. The fact that each of the spears ends up getting their own unique set of skills, it just makes it probably my favorite feature of this expansion. It's so great that even as I finished up the story, I'm now turning my attention to finishing the legendary spear Clobyarn Gear, which I'm probably saying wrong, just because it looks badass. And now that every class can use a spear, why not? The collection thus far hasn't been all that bad, aside from like the time-gated stuff, but that's to be expected. It's legendary crafting. Now, I will take a moment to mention the home instance and capability of building your home, which is an amazing feature, and from what I've seen, it's done incredibly well. Player housing has always been something that players ask for in MMOs, and the fact that it comes for free simply by playing the game, I mean, seriously, what more could you want? Again, I haven't dove into all the ins and outs of building a perfect homestead, and I think that's also because I heard Visions of Eternity is going to have a new home instance, and I'm all about going on a beach vacation, actually. Seeing other games like 14's lottery system, or even WoW now doing the housing system, it's nice to know that there's not a whole bunch of hoops that I had to jump through for this feature. Like mission 3 and you get your homestead. It's really nice. So my final thoughts is that I think Janthir Wilds deserved a better rep in the eyes of expansions. ArenaNet has been very open that they are looking at the yearly expansions, releasing content updates quarterly, which is right on par. And even how they did Secrets of the Obscure and Janthir Wilds, one could hardly say that they haven't done them well. Now, there are, of course, downsides of this model for the quicker pace and the less meaty aspects of the story. I do really think that most players prefer the open world items anyway. Ask any Guild Wars 2 player, and most of the time they play the game just for the open world events and occasionally dip into other end game activities such as raiding, PvP, World v World. Now, this, of course, does make Living World seasons feel so much bigger by comparison. I mean, just look at like Living World Season 4. I felt like that was a massive amount of content compared to the yearly expansions that we're getting right now. However, it is also important to note that Guild Wars 2 has now going on their 6th expansion. That's 6 expansions of content that is still all very relevant. at any given time. With horizontal scaling, I do believe that it is difficult for them to add meaningful content, but that doesn't completely oust everything else that has already come. But all in all, I will say that my $25 for purchasing Janthir Wilds and playing the game was absolutely worth it. Does it hit in the same way as like a Path of Fire or an End of Dragons? No, not the same, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't a great addition, especially with the amount of content that you can do and all the other improvements that this game offers. It's just simply more. Overall, I give the expansion about a 7.5, 8 out of 10. Only losing points really because the story's end felt super rushed. Do you agree with my thoughts on Janthir Wilds? Tell me down in the comment section below. If you are excited about Visions of Eternity, the new Guild Wars 2 expansion coming out later this year, you can click this video here to see what I'm doing to prepare for it. As always, stay caffeinated, folks.